Hello my friends, it's Becky here and welcome back to the new video. Merry belated Christmas. I haven't really had time to film much during Christmas holiday because prior to that I was just working 6 days a week, so it was a little bit crazy. And then obviously when Christmas started, and then after Christmas we went to visit family in Slovakia and then in Austria, so it was quite crazy time and I didn't really have much time to film. And to be honest with you, right now I have approximately 25 minutes until my boyfriend comes home, and I thought that I would use this opportunity and film, also show you our wonderful Christmas tree. It's our first one, so I'm very happy because we celebrated first time together. We celebrated Christmas for the first time together this year, so that was lovely, and I just really wanted to make at least one video with a Christmas tree. And I also have my, you cannot see it, but it's my festive Merry Christmas penguin jumper, so Merry Christmas once again. And I wanted to use this opportunity and I just wanted to talk to you about some of my favorite books which I read in 2025. Because now it's approximately 1 week left until the end of the year, and to be absolutely honest with you, I do not think I will be able to finish any more books, because I'm currently reading 2 books and I think I will just keep reading them when the New Year's come, and I just thought that I won't wait for them just for the sake to have more books on my list which I read. And I would like to talk to you about the books which I already did read and which I very much enjoyed, and maybe to inspire you so you can add some new books to your TBR for 2026. And of course, if you already read any of these books, I would very much love to hear your opinion and if you read them at all and what you thought of them. And without further ado, because I'm really running out of the time, I will start with the book. Usually people save this as the last book, but I'm just gonna tell you right at the beginning that this was my most favorite book of 2025, my friends, and it's this one. Ta-da! Goldfinch by Donna Tartt. This was my second read by her. For the first time I read Secret History, which I very much enjoy indeed, but I think I mentioned this a couple times before that I was reading Secret History right after I finished If We Were Villains, and these 2 books have very similar vibe when it comes to the story and the main plot and also the characters and their academia vibe, so I don't think I appreciate that book as much. However, now I read this and oh my goodness, I don't even know what to tell you, and I don't think actually I will tell you anything regarding this book and the story because I just don't want to give you any spoilers, because I went into this book by not knowing anything. Like, I didn't know anything about this book. I purchased it by accident really because I saw this in the bookstore and I was thinking, okay, I liked one book previously by this author and I know that everyone is talking about this and it's supposed to be very good, and all I knew was this thing on the back. And that's all I knew when I went into reading this, and oh my goodness, it was honestly the best book this year and probably one of the best books I have ever read. I could not put the book down. I cried like 5 times, once in a public transport as well as I was reading it on my way to the work. I love the characters, I love the story, the writing was so rich, and also let me tell you, the author, she is so brilliant. Like, if you haven't read anything by this woman, please do immediately, because the way she writes, when the way she sets the story and then throughout the whole story and all the developments when it comes to different characters and their life experiences and how those experiences shape them as people and as human. Like, I was reading it and I was like, oh my goodness, this is so brilliantly written, because every single thing the main character is going through, you can see where it comes from and how it affects him in the future, and then when something else happens you are like, oh my goodness, this makes so much sense, and it's just so not relatable necessarily, but like believable, you know. Amazing. I did have only one issue with this book, but I'm honestly gonna close both my eyes with this, even 4 when I'm reading with my glasses, all my eyes. And that is one thing that if you read this book, maybe you will know what I mean, but I'm not gonna give any spoilers. But basically, in the last part of the book, there was something very significant that the main character did, which was a very positive thing. And normally, I would guess that this would have a bigger impact on him and on his life and the way he felt, and I also felt that we would spend some more time at this action of his in the book, but I just felt like it was kind of sort of like a brush off and just mentioned, and in few pages it was dealt with, and I was like, I don't think this would be really realistic. Like, I know he's been through some hard stuff, but I don't think that this action of his particularly would be just this easy, sort of like brushed off. If you read this, maybe you know what I mean, and if you want to talk about this, please message me even on Instagram. I'm very happy to talk about this further. And just to give you a little heads up, this is not an easy read because it's full of trigger warnings and very difficult topics such as death, abuse, alcoholism, drugs, addiction and self-harm, and a lot of violence as well. So it's not an easy read, but let me tell you, it's so worth it. Just read it, my friends, read this, because honestly this is the best book I read in 2025 and I absolutely love it. And I'm definitely gonna reread this, but I'm gonna need some time. I also did so many like notes when it comes to writing and some quotes which I loved, and read this, okay? Okay, moving to a second book, which was actually quite dark as well when I'm thinking about it right now. I had quite interesting year. But it's A Yellow Face by Rebecca Kwong. And this was the first book which I read by this author, and so far the only one. And I would very much love to read some other books by her, but I haven't decided which one yet. So if you have any ideas, please let me know. This is a book which I read, I think, within 3 or 4 days because it was very gripping. I very much enjoyed it. However, not an easy read either. This is a story of two girls, or basically our main character has one friend, and they both are aspiring writers and writing is their passion. However, the only problem is that one of them was very successful with her debut novel and the other, June, our main character, wasn't. And she's very jealous on her friend. And what happens is that she witnesses her friend dying, and somehow it happens that she steals her new manuscript. Nobody knows about it, and she publishes it under her own name. This was really interesting read, let me tell you. One of the reasons why I also really like this book is because it made me dislike the main character, and that's something that happens very rarely to me, because usually when I read books I tend to like main characters, and generally all the characters in the books. Maybe sometimes some side character is not my favorite, but usually that's on the purpose. But right now here I just really did not like the main character. However, the way it was written, I just was so gripped to the story that I wanted to keep reading, and there were some moments which I was really holding my breath regarding what's gonna happen. So if you're looking for something quite interesting, I would love to hear your opinions, and especially to discuss even maybe the main character and your thoughts on her and her actions, because it was quite interesting for me, even from the point of view as someone who used to love writing. Now I have quite a long writing pause, but I, like, little part of me can really understand her behavior. Cannot justify it though, but I can really understand it, and it was really interesting to have little dialogue with myself and just imagine how could one act in her situation. Not that I would be ever tempted to steal somebody else's manuscript, but it was very interesting thing to do. And if you're interested in whole writing and publishing and books, and it is your hobby, then this book perhaps could be for you, because it's very interesting one indeed. So that was the second book, my friends. Then I'm gonna move to one which I mentioned here before, and I'm not gonna spend that long time with this book because I also made a video about this when I was talking about the books which I read recently. Now it's gonna be recent months because time is flying so fast, but it's the book called Dracula by Bram Stoker. And everyone knows this story. I reread this book this year, but definitely still it got into my top 3 this year, or top 5, or top whatever books, because writing is just so beautiful, it's so rich. I loved all the characters. I have so many favorite characters in this book, as I mentioned in the other video, which you can look up as well. Especially Mina, she's definitely one of my favorite characters. Also the way how women are described here, and the appreciation of women, and especially in these times, that Van Helsing, you know Van Helsing, so how appreciative he is for Mina's brain and her wisdom, and how smart she is, because you don't really see this in literature when it comes from these times and ages. So that's something I very much enjoyed. And then also just Dracula. So if you never read this book, my friends, please do, because the story is absolutely wonderful. It's gripping. It has a lot of tension, but there is a lot of love story. Also, if you've seen probably different adaptations of Dracula, for example, my case was that I did not really like all the characters when I saw movie adaptation for it. Excuse me. For example, when I saw Francis Ford Coppola adaptation, Lucy really wasn't my favorite character, and here in this book I liked her so much. So even if you like Dracula, the whole story world of his, and you saw different adaptations but you never read the book, I highly encourage you to do it next year, or even now. Maybe you still have time, although it's quite chunky, but I highly recommend you to give this a try, because it's absolutely wonderful, wonderful, stunning book, and it's classic. So definitely should be on your list, probably for at least October, November if you won't get to it sooner, but for Halloween time it's perfect. So that's book number 3. Number 4 is Blue Sisters by Coco Mellers. Oh, it's so dark suddenly. Okay, wait a moment. Okay, it was sunny literally like 5 seconds ago, and I didn't even realize when the sun disappeared. I also have another video about this book if you would like have more detailed description. But basically, this is a story about 3 sisters. Originally there were 4 of them, but unfortunately at the very beginning of the story we discovered that one of them passed away. And throughout this book we follow the journey of 3 other sisters and how are they navigating life without this one sister, and how basically they finally meet together again after their parents decide to sell apartment while all of them grow up. It's a very interesting book, I would say, especially if you are someone who has siblings, and especially if you have sisters, because I am coming from a background where I have only one sister, but this was really relatable to me, and I found this to be a wonderful writing in a way, because it was really relatable when it comes to having this sibling, what's to call it, not narration, but just relationship, when you are just loving each other so much and having so much fun and laughing about something, and literally 1 second later you're snapping at each other and shouting, and then 2 seconds later it's all fine again, and it's just this strangeness of sisterhood, I would say, but it's very, very lovely. But also it gives a lot of like a friendship and support for one another, and what it means to be there for one another and to be sibling, because it's also has quite a lot of trigger warnings. Honestly, I don't know why I chose so many different books with different difficult themes in them, but here it's also addiction and drugs and alcoholism and abuse and self-harm, so be a little bit careful when going into this book. But I would say it's really worth it, because we follow each of the sisters, and what I really like is that the book is written in a way that every chapter is dedicated to one sister, and these chapters obviously are changing all the time, so you're not really bored, because you have some snippets of the story from one sister, then another, then another, then another, and then it goes all over again. So it's quite interestingly written as well. So my friends, the last book which I wanted to mention is the book Table for Two by Amor Towles, which is the book I read over the summer, and it's a book containing several short stories. I believe it's 7 of them, I'm not really sure, but this is the book which I would recommend, especially after recommending this quite creepy, heavy reads. This is just wonderful. I read one more book by Amor Towles previously, which was Gentleman in Moscow, and I absolutely love the writing, and I do think that Amor Towles is going to be one of my favorite authors, and I would very much love to read some of his other books. So if you read any other books by his besides Gentleman in Moscow and this one, I would love to hear your recommendation, which one to pick up as next. Because honestly his writing just feels like a poetry. This is a collection of short stories, and what I loved about this is that it really shows how the author is really able to write about so many different topics, literally from art and music and paintings to human relationship, and even something like waiting in line is just described so beautifully on several pages, and he gives meaning to it, to such a simple activities. Highly recommend this one, my friends, if you're looking for something which you can read, for example, over the summer, which is usually I don't read that many short stories, but I do enjoy reading them during summer, because when you're, for example, at the beach and then you want to go swimming and you want a little break, you can just finish the short story and then not have to wait to finish the whole chapter or something. So it's a really good one. So this one. So my friends, I have here actually 5 books, so 5 for 2025. And I hope that you will let me know if you read any of these and if you enjoy them. Okay, I had to adjust it one more time because it's just getting so dark. But what I was saying, my friends, is that I'm not really sure I will have time to post another video this year yet, but I have the whole list of videos planned for the next year or as soon as possible. So hopefully I will see you soon, and if I won't be able to post anymore this year, I wish you wonderful end of 2025 and lots of love, hope and happiness to the new year, and hopefully I will see you there much more often than I did at the first part of this year. So hopefully see you soon, take care and see you soon, bye!